Hello, thanks very much for joining me. So you get an idea, right? And you think, yeah, that could be really good. What if that happened and then that? And before you know it, you're off on a journey where you know the destination, but not always what you're going to discover along the way. Here are some of the things I experienced making life's most important role with Cartoon Animator 5. There are 3 main actors in the video, 2 bespoke and 1 from the CA5 troupe. Mac Mouse, and let's call him Lou Man, are very specific, and since my drawing skills are pretty weak, after a long fruitless search for inspiration through various image websites, I decided to turn to AI for help. The script prompts created some interesting and sometimes unexpected results. But I did like 2 of the figures and used CA5's pipeline feature to produce them in Photoshop. Breaking down Lou Man's legs into constituent parts was pretty straightforward. Mac Mouse was far more of a challenge. It took a lot of cleaning and simplifying before I was satisfied, and I hadn't reckoned on a problem I'll come to later. In several scenes, Mac also needs to be seen without his fedora and trenchcoat, as well as from the back. All jobs completed in Photoshop. The cat, as I say, is an actor included with CA5, but I did have to create some different eye sprites so he could look in different directions. Mac's trenchcoat has long, wide lapels, and what goes under the lapels? The arms, of course. Not a problem if the arms are behind the torso in the layer order and don't need to be moved a lot. A big problem if the performance has to come from the front. The results look terrible. The only thing I could think of, and if anybody has a better idea, do let me know, was to create lapel masks, save them as custom accessories in CA5 and attach them to the actor. Theory good, practice rubbish. I then tried importing the lapels as standard props and attaching them. Again, theory good, practice rubbish. In the end, my solution was to track the lapels frame by frame in the Transform tab. And it's not just in one scene, it's 5. If CA5 didn't have FFD, freeform deformation tools, I don't know if what I wanted to do would have been possible. This static image of shorts and feet looks fine, but move the feet and this happens. Trying to fit the rigid shorts to the feet wouldn't have looked right, because clothing is flexible and moves with the body. Shorts also have a wide elastic band at the top. So the solution was to make the shorts move with the legs and feet using FFD. FFD also helped to make the toilet roll hitting various objects before it lands much more effective. And speaking of toilet rolls, because of my lack of drawing skills, I have to rely on accurate reference images. Freepik is a great source. Or I have to photograph things in the right position so I can trace over them. Sounds daft, but the toilet roll was quite a challenge. Lots of different angles, perspectives and positions. And if anyone had walked in and seen me snapping heaps of carefully arranged toilet paper, they would probably have thought I was nuts. The Springbone feature in Cartoon Animator 5 is another great tool. It can add extra movement and depth to all sorts of different props. I used it on the newspaper, the cat's bell, Luhmann's arm, and heap of toilet paper. To produce actor shadows in Cartoon Animator, I recommend the tutorial by Animation and Video Life called Master Cartoon Animator 5 Add Animated Shadows to Your Characters with Blur and Transparency. However, I discovered there's another way of creating shadows directly in your external editor. Check out the tutorial by Start Animation called A Better Way to Create Shadows, Guide for Cartoon Animator Users. In simple terms, you make a copy of the animation, flip and position it, lower the opacity, add blur, and voila! While that's fine if the surface being walked on is meant to be reflective like a polished floor, it's not really usable for anything else. After a lot of experimenting, I came up with a solution. Now, I'm using DaVinci Resolve, but I'm sure you can achieve the same results with other editors. Select your shadow and change the colour to monochrome. That's black and white to you and me. Lower the contrast to 0 and change the composite mode to colour burn. Then lower the opacity, add blur, and you're done. The animation works well if the shadow is a mirror copy of the original. But if you want to change the position and shape, such as placing the shadow behind the actor and making it longer, in DaVinci you have to use position keyframes and also free transform the shadow to make it work. I certainly learned a lot making life's most important role, but most importantly it was great fun to do, and I hope 1 or 2 tips might prove useful. Thanks very much for watching.